Good morning, everyone, or good noon on the dot.
Thank you in advance for spending your lunch hour with us.
So because this is sponsored by the Central Valley HR Hotline, it covers quite a few counties. So if you want to drop in the chat where you're joining us from, just so we know who we're speaking with today, and especially if we have any awesome CEA members in the house, we always love to acknowledge you. And we'll give it another little minute to let people get in, and we'll get started.
We got Tulare County checking in.
Where else? Let's have it. See how expansive we're reaching today. All right. I know we have a lot of content to cover today. Oh, Madeira, excellent. But I do want to make sure we get to all of the content, have time for your questions. So we're just going to let people come in as they're able to. So hi, everyone. Welcome to Don't Fire Them, Inspire Them, brought to you by the Central Valley HR Hotline. My name is Anna Manzano. I am the digital media and event strategist here at the California Employers Association. Before we officially kick off today's training, I just have a couple housekeeping details to go over with you. So today your audio will be muted during the presentation, but there will be lots of opportunities to engage during the session. If you have any questions pertaining to the content, you can type them into the chat box at any time or the Q&A box, and we'll try to address them as we go. We have two trainers on today. Jessica will be delivering the content, and Eli will be supporting us in the chat, and we'll just be all here to help you out. Make sure you get all the content that you need. Handouts for this training were sent out in the reminder email yesterday. Some of you received it this morning for our people that just signed up. If you need them sent again, I know we had some people just sign up. So if you didn't get that email, it's not in your spam folder, please drop your email into the chat box. I'll make sure you get that in just a couple minutes. Last but not least, we have a survey. Because your feedback is super important to us, we have, I promise you, a 2-minute survey. A browser window will pop up at the end of the meeting today. I'll also drop a hyperlink into the chat. And I believe 6 questions that you provide us with that feedback, we then share that with our partners at Central Valley. We take that here at CEA, and we continue to develop our trainings, our series of resources that in turn helps to serve you. So now that all the housekeeping is done, I have the great privilege of introducing our trainers today. Like I said, we have Jessica Rivera, our training and coaching director, who will be leading today's training, and Eli Nunez, our HR director here at CEA, who will be supporting us in the chat and providing additional content. So I know we have a lot of ground to cover. So Jessica, it is all yours.
Thank you, Anna. And welcome, everybody. Eli and I and Anna are thrilled to have you with us today. And we look forward to spending some time with you today and having maybe a little bit of lunch with you, too. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and just give thanks to Central Valley, the hotline for employers, for all of these counties that you see on the right. Please, if you have a human resources compliance or you need guidance around something that may be happening at your location, use this no-cost human resources hotline. We have subject matter experts who can guide you, navigate you through some of those situations that rise up when it comes to the work that we do in leading people and our human resources. And again, thank you to Central Valley for providing this hotline for all of these counties. Who are we at CEA? For those of you who, if this is your first time with us, we welcome you. For those who have been with us before on our workshops, thank you for coming back. We are an organization who provides human resources services and solutions to employers in the state of California. We also work with employers outside of the state who have employees here in California. You know that here in California, we are unique with some of the laws, the regulations that we have. And we always want to make sure that we can support our employers so that they can work on their business and we can help them with the people side of it and the human resources side of it. Also, our attorneys make us say that we aren't attorneys. What we'll be talking about today will be guidance. If you find yourself in need of legal advice, we always recommend you consult your company's attorney or legal counsel as needed. With that in mind, what we'll be talking about today, and for those of you who are privileged to lead teams, you know, and we know your role continues to evolve. And today we're going to talk about engagement and retention. How do I keep people really excited, committed, dedicated? How do I keep my good people too? How do I inspire versus thinking I need to get rid of people? Don't get me wrong, sometimes we do have to do performance management, but many times, because of the impact you have as a leader, you can inspire and motivate your people like none other at your company. Also, what are some of the current trends that we're seeing? What are some of the things that are happening in workplaces today? And then some key elements around coaching employees. Coaching is different than telling people what to do. Coaching is working with an employee to realize their optimal performance and to help them achieve their goals. Good news is the officially as of April of this year, the Great Resignation is over. As you can see, in 2021 and 2022, we saw vast amounts of people leaving the workplace. They had just had it, stressed out, pandemic, all of the global events that were happening. People just knew they had opportunities to either go elsewhere or they did not want to continue to work. So the good news is, as I said, that's over, and the pendulum is swinging more to center again. For the past several years, it has been an employee's job market. They had many opportunities, a lot of choices. Employers were really struggling trying to hire good people. And that pendulum has swung a little bit more to center. It's still hard to find good people, but not as bad as it was, say, a year or two ago. So what are some of the reasons? Why do people leave? All of these reasons here show up in survey after survey, why people either have checked out, they're still there, but they've checked out, or they're looking for other opportunities. One of the most significant ones that we have seen in the past few years is stress and burnout. And burnout is very different than stress. Burnout goes to that extreme. And you'll see a lot of companies now have wellness programs, are doing things for their employees, because the past 3 years have increased anxiety for people so much. I believe the last number I saw was a 25% increase in anxiety and depression because of global events. So wellness has become extremely important to companies to help their employees navigate through all of the changes that we've seen. These other reasons, you'll get a copy of the handout, so you'll have all of this to refer to. We like to share a lot of information, so you can always go back after our workshops and take a look at some of the things we covered. The other one I'd like to talk about too that's really important is flexibility. We're finding today that as employers, we have to be as flexible as we can to still get the job done, serve our clients, our customers, yet also paying attention to our employees. We have so many things that are happening in all of our lives, and that old school thinking of, hey, you leave your personal life at home, it just doesn't happen in the real world today. So making sure that we are doing as much as we can too to provide flexible options for people. And these other reasons we'll talk a little bit more about too. You'll hear us talk about engagement, and this is a term that you'll hear us use a lot as we go through this presentation. Gallup, an organization who does a tremendous amount of polling and surveys, and they work internationally. They do a survey annually, and they do it both for US companies and also internationally, worldwide. And what they find is that at any given point, any given year, the amount of people that we have in the American workforce who are fully engaged, who are dedicated, committed, loyal, they do really great work and they stay with your company, it's usually about a third of the workplace that we see is fully engaged. These are the folks that are, getting that job done for you day in and day out. They're not going to leave. They're going to really put forth that discretionary effort for you and for the company because they really see their success as the company's success and vice versa. Gallup also finds that at any given point in time, about half the workforce is not engaged. Yes, they show up, they are doing the work, but that connection's not there. That going over and above the discretionary effort is not there. And they'll tend to miss more days and they're looking for other jobs in many situations. And then we go to the far right, which you'll see 18% are actively disengaged. These are the folks who really are probably causing damage both to your company, annoying customers, disrupting your team. They are the ones who are not happy and they want to see everyone else feel the same way. Many times when we work with employees and employers and leaders, we find that there is such an impact that these people have. And as leaders, sometimes it's hard for us to let people go, especially when it's hard to hire someone, but we have to. If we've done everything we can for this 18%, we've upskilled them where they needed more training, we've done everything we can to accommodate them, and they're still unhappy, it's so important for you to just let them go somewhere else. Let them leave, make arrangements, whatever you need to do, performance manage them out if you need to. These are the folks that if you've done everything you can and they're still not going to change, let them go. So going back to these other two categories, year after year, you'll see these statistics pretty much the same. They may go up or down a couple of percentage points, but not by much. So let's take a look at a few more things that tie into engagement. Before we do, one thing I'd like to do is ask you to do a poll, and Eli is launching the poll right now. So if you could answer the question, how engaged do you think your team is right now based on what I just talked about? And you can only choose one, but how engaged do you think your team is? Thank you, Eli. Okay, so Eli, let's see here. Good, good. Give it another few seconds. Okay. All right, so if we could share the results, Eli, thank you. The great news is over half of everyone on here today, you believe your team is actively engaged, and that's excellent. Great news. I applaud you. On the other side of it, we have some who aren't sure, just don't know. And we'll talk about some things that can help you to make sure that you're doing everything you can as a leader to get them to that engaged place. And you may even be thinking, as I was talking about the not engaged, I may have some people who are on the cusp who may be going from being engaged to going to not engaged. Or you may have some in not engaged that you're thinking about, how do I get them to the engaged, which is the goal for all of us as leaders. So thank you, Eli. I appreciate you doing that for me. Let's see here. So when I talked about Gallup and the surveys they do locally, meaning the US, and internationally, you'll see that there's 4 components where they have 12 questions that they ask as they survey employees, and they all link into different components of what employees need from us as leaders today. The trust, the compassion, stability, and hope. These are the 4 pillars that employees have told us time and time again, this is what they need. And as you take a look, we've broken out these 12 questions and how they apply to each portion of this pyramid. As you can see, 3 questions. I know what's expected of me at work. I have materials and equipment I need to do my work correctly. And at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. Those tie into trust. Those tie into an employee knowing that their manager has taken the time to get to know them. They have supported them with the materials, what they need to do their best work. And they also know that their manager cares. They've talked to them. Where do you do your best work? What do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? What are your strengths? Those help in building that trust between you and your employees. And these are in order of importance. As you can see, the foundation of any team, whether it's through the 5 dysfunctions of a team by Patrick Lencioni, through Gallup, through any other leadership books you'll read, the foundation of any team is trust. If you don't have trust, it's hard to get to any place else. So these are all in order of importance. And many of us have probably started jobs or gone to a new role, and we weren't quite sure what was expected of us. We weren't quite sure what success looked like at the end of the day. Or worse yet, maybe we were given tools and we were expected to build a Rolls Royce with Chevy tools. And I use that example because sometimes that goal is out of reach if we don't have that right equipment or what we need to get the job done. So let's go to compassion. With compassion, you'll see question number 4. In the last 7 days, I've received recognition, appreciation, praise for doing good work. Gallup has found that our team members, people we're privileged to lead, need to be recognized at least every 7 days. And what that means is it doesn't mean it has to be tangible, but paying attention, noticing, thanking them, letting them know that you're aware of the great work that they're doing. Also, my supervisor seems to care about me as a person. I could ask all of you if you'd like, feel free to put in what does that look like to you in the chat box. How does someone show they care at work to you? Some of the things we hear quite a bit are things like, gosh, they asked me about my weekend. They asked me how, they remember things that I've shared with them that are important to me. It shows up in different ways. And then also, there's someone who encourages my development. None of us wants to be stagnant. We always want to be growing and learning and moving forward. And that's what leaders do for their folks too. They encourage their development. They want to see them succeed. And then we go to stability. And in a time of all that we've seen in the past 3 years, 4 years, stability has never become more important than it is today. And that shows up with these 4 questions. Number 7, at work, my opinion seems to count. People want their voice to matter. They know the mission of the company and they find meaning in that mission in question number 8. Number 9, I work with a team who works well together and we're all working hard towards that same goal. And then number 11, one of my favorite ones is I have a best friend at work, because this has been challenged before by companies to Gallup and saying, we don't want people to be best friends. They're here to work, blah, blah, blah. Yet what's important to know is if your folks don't have someone at work that they connect with, they can talk to about things other than just work, there can be that sense of isolation. So important to pay attention to that too. Are people being included? Do they feel that they are included? Are we doing things to create that environment where people can get to know each other a bit more too? And then also we go to hope, which are the last 2 questions. And this is also so important because we want to know how we're doing. In the last 6 months, someone's talked to me about my progress. How am I doing? Am I on the right track to get that promotion, to get a good performance rating, to get a potential salary increase? That I have someone who pays attention to that. And then lastly, I've had opportunities to work on my team and to grow and to learn. And many times with some companies, smaller ones, maybe we can't move people, promote them as often as we'd like, yet we can still grow them where they are. I call it grow them where they're planted so that they're ready for that next promotion or that next opportunity when it does arise. So with that in mind, these are the pieces that tie in overall to engagement. And I'm looking at some of the comments in the chat box too, and I'm seeing things, listening with eye contact, looking, paying attention, being fully present, so important in today's world. And many times we find that that's hard to do in that, the busy world we live in, and we'll talk more about that. So these are the questions. You have them in the handout. I know with the pyramid and the questions, they were a little bit small, but I've talked about these already, but you have them in a bigger print so that you can take a look at them in your handout also. So here's the challenge, that engagement challenge for all of us. And the first one is building that organizational trust. There's two kinds of trust when we think about being in an organization. There's a common type of trust, which is I trust my employees not to take equipment. I trust my employees not to sabotage things. I trust my employees to keep information confidential as needed. That's an organizational trust. As a leader, there's a deeper trust, and that trust really ties into my employees know I have their back. My employees know that I will support them. My employees know that if they make a mistake, they can come to me and we'll learn from it, we'll grow from it, and it won't happen again, hopefully. But it's that kind of trust where employees are not afraid to throw in their ideas, even if they're wild and creative and out of this world. They're not afraid to share their opinion. They're not afraid to admit their mistakes. And they also know how to say, I'm sorry if I've messed up. How do they learn that? They learn that from us as leaders. We have to be the type of leaders that let them know that. Sometimes people come from different companies who don't have that kind of trust. We as leaders want to make sure that our employees know that, understand that. We share it in team meetings, and we also share it on our one-on-one conversations. We also want to have dynamic teams that get along well, are able to talk about things and do things and feel they can have those conversations and still walk out aligned on what you're trying to accomplish. You want to build that recognition and feedback into your workflow. Believe me, Eli and I know how busy everyone is today. Leadership roles have changed, organizations have flattened, leaders are doing as well as leading, and we get that. So how do we build this into our workflow so that we make it part of our everyday job? And it can make such a difference for your team when you are able to do that. I have asked thousands and probably tens of thousands at this point of my participants in workshops, if there's anyone who is currently over recognized. I can't take another thank you, another this, another that. My cup runneth over. I've only had one person raise his hand in all of those years that I've asked this question, and it was a man who said yes, he was overly recognized, but it was by his 3-year-old son. No one from work has said that yet. So when I talk about this, it's something that is real, and it's something that we as humans need. We want to know we matter. And then, of course, making sure people's voices are heard. We're going to have quiet people on our teams. We're going to have people that don't participate as much. How do we bring them into the fold? How do we make it a point to say, gosh, Anna, how do you feel about this change? Is there anything else we can change about this? Or what do you think might be another way to approach this? Creating those opportunities so people feel that they can make a difference for the company. And then, of course, the work-life harmony. We continue to see this as a big, big issue, and especially for our younger generations who are getting close to being more than half the workforce. And they are demanding, they're not asking, they're demanding that there be a work-life balance or that harmony. And as employers, we have to pay attention to that. So how do we create that and make sure that we can be that type of employer that people want to come and work with and work for? So the new world of work, again, this is a survey done by Gallup because they have written so many books about managers and the importance that the importance an employee places on you. People do not leave a company, they leave their manager. They watch you, you're constantly being observed, how you handle things, how you speak to people, how you engage with them. And what they want today is they want a coach. They don't want a boss. They don't want someone who's going to tell them what to do all the time. None of us likes to be told what to do. They want to know what's expected. And when I coach and I work with people in career transition, I always tell them, be sure and ask. if you're going to go with a company that you know what that job is and what's going to be expected of you. That helps an employee with their anxiety, and it gives them confidence that they're going in the right direction. They want accountability, not just for themselves, for you as their leader, but also for the rest of the team. They want to connect what they're doing to something that makes a difference. And what I mean by that is, am I making a difference in people's lives, my customers, my clients? Some of us are in healthcare. My gosh, in that case, that purpose is saving lives in many situations. But all of us have things that we do in our jobs that make a difference for our customers, for our members, for our clients. That purpose is something people connect to, and they want to connect what they do to the company's purpose. They want to know how they're doing on a regular basis. And we see this more with our younger employees, our younger generations, than we do with some of our more mature generations. Back in the day, with some of our more mature generations, no news was good news. If you didn't hear anything, you were doing a good job. Yet in today's world, people want to be coached. They want to know on a regular basis, I'm on the right track. And then again, sadly, only 20% of employees said their performance was managed in a way that motivates them to do outstanding work. So, how do we do that as a leader? How do we make sure that we are inspiring and motivating and getting that work done through our employees in the best possible way? Here's the difference between a boss and a coach. As you can see on the left-hand side, many of us have had these types of bosses before, and hopefully you have a great environment where you work now, and hopefully you have a lot of opportunities to be coached and to feel that you're going in the right direction, and your people feel that same way. But this is what a boss looks like. And having worked in corporate America for many years and having worked with so many California employers over the past many years, I still see that we have an opportunity here. We have to move to coach. And that means we want to listen more than talk. There's a lot that we can learn from our employees, not just by what they're saying, but also what's not being said. By listening and being present, we ask a lot of questions as a coach. We don't have to be that leader that has all the answers. We know where to get them, but we don't have to have all the answers. We also want to make sure that we help people to realize their own abilities, realize what they can do to create that change that they want to see in their job. And also, a coach makes contact. We connect with people on a regular basis, not just when they've done something wrong or when it's performance management time or performance evaluation time, but we make contact. We connect with people on a regular basis. And Frank Panchetta, who led Xerox for many, many years, talks about how coaching really makes a difference in motivating and inspiring people. As you think about your best bosses that you've ever had, and hopefully you have a great boss right now, thinking about those things that they did to motivate you, how they inspired you, how they saw things in you before you even saw them in yourself. And they really made you want to do your absolute best work. I'm sure that as I said that, there were a couple of leaders that came to mind for you immediately. I have my favorites, and I'm sure you do too. So here's what coaching can do. It can help people navigate their career transitions. And what I mean by that is sometimes you're going to have people who are absolutely in the right spot. They are doing a great job. Other times, you're going to see some folks struggling. You're going to see them, maybe they've been placed in a new role or you hired them for something, change their job description a bit, and it's not playing to what they do well. And sometimes you might need to shift people around. And so that's something else that when you have those conversations with your folks, they can let you know, asking them those questions that we'll talk about in a few moments that will help you to get those answers that you need. Because if you're not playing to what you do well, playing to your strengths, and we all have natural talents, you are not going to be performing at your peak level. And you're probably not going to be as engaged or as satisfied with your work either. And sometimes we as leaders think, oh my gosh, that person is not doing a good job. We're going to have to do something about it. Yet by having that coaching conversation, you may find out that their talents or strengths are better served in your company in another type of a role or with different duties. Also, coaching can help you with people who want to grow with the company. People don't always want to be leaders. They always don't want to grow. Some are very happy doing what they're doing, and that's great. We want to encourage that, recognize that, all of those things. Yet some are very ambitious and they want to get promotions. They want to grow. They need to know what they can do to get there. So that's also what coaching can help you with. And as I said before, you may see something in one of your employees they haven't yet seen in themselves. And when you open that door, you're going to find that there are a lot of things they are willing to do to level up, upskill their own abilities so that they can reach those heights. Also, it helps to plan someone's career, where you see them, where they see themselves. Leadership skills. Hopefully your goal is to create your replacement when you go on to bigger and better things. How do we do that with our folks? How do we coach them? It helps to increase their influence and their confidence. When people know you believe in them and that you are supporting them, as I talked about, that deeper trust, wow, that confidence gets bigger and bigger. And we see this especially for some people who may be quieter or not used to talking about how good they are. And I don't mean bragging, but talking about some of their accomplishments because they're a more quiet type. It gives them that confidence to understand I've earned the right to be here. I've earned the right to get that promotion. It's okay for me to say I want to go to that level. It also improves our well-being overall. When people know how they're doing, when they know they have a leader who supports them, who knows what they want to do with the company, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about whether my leader thinks highly of me or not. I don't have to worry about whether my leader even thinks of me at all. It improves our mental health and it allows us to perform better. Also, our communication skills. I mentioned earlier, everything that you do, our employees learn from that. We learn as much from our bad leaders, unfortunately, as we do from our good leaders, our great leaders. So you're also showing them that presence, that leadership presence, that ability to communicate, to deal with conflict in a healthy and productive way. And that's what can come out in coaching. Also, it increases productivity. Again, allows people to reach their peak performance. So when we create that coaching culture, when we're willing to do that and create it in a way where we have that environment, we have that transparency on our team, clear communications, people aren't afraid to talk about what they do well. It does help make people feel that ability. Gosh, I can do this. I'm excited. I'm an ambassador for the company. I work for the best company. It also helps to quickly identify roadblocks and eliminate them too. Because if something's going wrong, you as a leader want to know right away. You don't want to know when it's gotten so bad that there's going to require a whole lot of work to fix it. It also helps to guide your team, helps them navigate and achieve what they're trying to achieve as a team, but also as individuals. And it preps them for that next success, for that level that they want to achieve. That's what a coaching culture can do. And many of us, as I said, we think that that coaching is the same as being a boss. Leadership and manager are also different. A manager manages tasks. They don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to people, whereas leadership does both. We still get the results, but we pay attention to the people side of it and get it done through our people who are inspired and motivated. I'm just checking the chat here. I have a
Yeah.
question here. Oh, Eli, you want to go
Yes,
ahead and
yes. No,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna pop in. This question came up about how do we coach someone that's not really going the direction that the organization is going? And it looks like we're going to discuss the steps to take on this in the upcoming section. So I just want to let this person know we are going to be discussing this here as far as what the requirements of coaching are and the steps to take if someone is not going in the right direction or in the direction we want to go. So want them to make sure that we're not ignoring the question. Stay tuned. We're going to answer that one live.
It's right around the corner, we promise. Thank you, Eli. So here are the requirements, 3 requirements to keep in mind when we're coaching folks. We want to establish expectations. So that question is perfect. Just to segue into this, do people know what's expected of them? Are we measuring what we expect? If we aren't and not checking in with people, they're not going to know. They're going to be in that gray area. If we're making it very clear what we need our folks to do, and we're measuring it, we're communicating it, we're talking about it, that goes a long way in people not only being motivated, but they also know where they are. And we as leaders have to make sure that we stay on top of that. Also, continually coach. Sometimes you may blindside somebody when you say, gosh, you're not meeting the targets. Oh, I thought I was, but no one told me I wasn't. I thought I was doing everything right. I'm doing the best I can. So we have to stay on top of the coaching. As I mentioned, our younger generations want to be coached. They've told us survey after survey, I want to know how I'm doing on a regular basis. So communicating results, letting teams know how they're doing goes a long way, especially for our younger generations, because that motivates them. They're used to getting coached. Many of us have raised these younger generations. We're coaching, we're coaching parents. We've kept them on track, hopefully, to do the things they need to do. So they're used to coaching. And then also the accountability, that carrot or the stick, right? When you achieve your expectations, here's what will happen. Here's what we might have to do if we can't quite get there. We have to work on this because we all have to be accountable for our own results. We have to own them. We have to make sure that we can achieve them if they are realistic, if they're achievable. And we have to make sure that we're making those adjustments ourselves to ensure that we do hit our own targets. So these are the 3 components. It's not just being, saying, hey, I'd like you to do better, but it's these 3 components that can go a long way when you're coaching your employees. So setting those clear expectations, these are going to be very helpful as you look back. And, we're ending, I can't believe 2023 is almost over. I don't know where this year has gone, yet we're just about there. But as you think about 2024, as you think about, gosh, I'm going to be writing evaluations for people, thinking about how I want to maybe fit this into my coaching with them as we do performance evaluations in the upcoming months, but making sure that we're tying all of this together for them. Include people in the goal setting. When you can include them in setting goals, you're going to have much stronger commitment and dedication. I understand we get goals as leaders that we have to achieve, yet we do have that opportunity to talk with them about talk with them with our team to say, how are we going to get here? What do we need to do differently? How can we adjust? And then also taking it down to that individual level. Then you want to get that agreement and that commitment from your employees as you do this. Saying we want to achieve this, that's only a dream until we actually put it in writing and we talk about it. So our vision, our thoughts, our actions, and then into reality. We want to continually coach, and you've heard me say this more than once. Our feedback should be specific. We don't have to cover everything in one conversation, but making sure that we're making sure we catch those opportunities where we can do productive coaching with our team. Should be timely. Please don't come to me 3 weeks later where maybe I may have misstepped. I may have said something in a way that wasn't productive, and you're coming back and reminding me, and I can't even remember anything I did yesterday. So trying to be as timely as we can when we're providing feedback or coaching someone, or conversely, if I've done something great, it's going to be kind of 3 weeks later than if you tell me, hey, great job, Jessica. So making sure we pay attention to that. Letting people know that your focus is to help them learn, grow, and develop. When people know how much you care, that you have their best interests at heart in all that you do, it makes it easier to have those more difficult conversations because you've already think of things as a bank account, right? When we're recognizing, acknowledging our folks, praising them, we're putting deposits into that bank account. Yet when we have to have those more difficult conversations where maybe, gosh, we need to fix this, we have to do that withdrawal. It's hard to take a withdrawal from an empty bank account, right? But if we've already deposited and done all of those things to build trust, hope, stability, shown compassion, easier to have those conversations with people because they already know you care about them. And then, of course, being tactful. We can pretty much say anything, it's how we say it, and making sure the timing of that is right. Not when you're angry, annoyed, or upset, but making sure that you're in the right headspace too to have those conversations, those difficult ones. Or when you're having a really one about development, making sure you allow enough time because you don't know what an employee is going to say. They may surprise you and it may take longer than what you expected. The accountability, I touched on making sure they participate, being flexible too with your coaching goals, knowing that, gosh, we thought about this, we put this in writing, things have changed. Maybe it doesn't align with our big picture anymore. We have to make a left instead of the right that we thought we were doing. So being flexible and knowing when to adjust on the goals that we've set. And then also here's a few coaching questions you can ask too. As a leader, what can I do to help you get there? How can I continue to help you moving forward? A question too is, what do you know for sure? So when you ask someone, gosh, what do you think you do really, really well? And what do you know for sure that you do really well? Getting them to talk about what excites them, what inspires them, what they enjoy doing. And then also asking them and yourself, what does great look like? So great work, great quality, what does that look like for us? So these are some just reflections that you can ask yourself, but also ask your team to think about. Self-reflection about ourselves. And this is something that we as leaders should probably do for ourselves on a regular basis. Am I asking for feedback on my own work, both from my boss or also from my team? And it can be something as simple as, is there anything else I should be doing to support you? I'm available to you. I'm never too busy to help you. Please do not feel that you have to wait to talk to me if something comes up that's really important. Asking yourself too, am I making excuses for the results? How am I showing up? How am I taking that responsibility as a leader? Do I hold my peers accountable? If I'm on a team, I want to make sure everybody's doing their side of that business for our team. I want my team to succeed. And do I provide feedback to others? And I find more often than not, leaders will say, gosh, Jessica, I really want to do more with my teams. I want to spend more time with my individual employees. It's just so hard because I'm so busy. Make it a priority, because the more that we can do this for our people, the people that we lead, you're going to see the results. You'll see that benefit in the results. You'll see that people are more willing to do what they need to do and work with each other to get there. Just some tips when you meet with folks too. Don't make it so serious behind closed doors. Maybe you have a cup of coffee. Maybe you go for a walk. It's just a discussion. Making sure on those coaching opportunities, it can even be at their cubicle. If they're in a cubicle or at their desk, be specific. If you're recognizing someone, let them know, gosh, Anna, you did such a great job with that customer a few hours ago. Your demeanor made all the difference. You listened, you handled the issue, and that customer walked away so happy. Thank you for taking such good care of our customers. Being as specific as you can when you're meeting with your folks. I always encourage, if you're doing a coaching session that's going to take a little bit of time, prepare for it. Have those questions in advance of what you want to ask. And get more feedback. Again, you never know what an employee is going to share with you. And of course, the others, which we all want for ourselves. We want to be treated that way, as honesty, kindness, and our leader being in the moment with us, not doing 3 other things while they're talking with us. And some topics that you can do. Here's some things to think about too. It can just be progress on a project. It can be, gosh, we have this new thing that we're going to be doing. We're going to have to set some goals around this. It can be about resources or the work environment. What can we do to just recognize the team for some great things that they've done? Or how can we create a more positive environment so people feel they can jump in and talk about things that are on their minds. So all of these things are some topics that you can ask your employees individually. They're brilliant. They may give you ideas that you have not thought of before. So here's something else too. And as a coach, I'm a certified coach. I do executive coaching and group coaching and staff coaching, asking the right questions. As a coach, when you have your coach hat on as a leader, you don't have to have all the answers. You want to do listening. You want to listen more than you talk. So your employees should be talking about 80% of the time. You're only talking 20% of the time. And the key to this is asking the right questions, making sure it's brief, it's focused, it's relevant, and it's constructive, and making sure it's not such a complicated question that they're overwhelmed with your questions, making sure that it's a question that is very, very specific. And try to avoid the why questions when you're coaching. You want to ask the open-ended ones. The why one tends to start making people feel like there's blame. So why do you think you're not doing this? Why do you think that you're not achieving your goals? When you're doing regular coaching with people, you want to try to stay away from that with your employees. What questions are really good when you're growing and developing your employees, when they're in a new job, when you're talking about their careers? Here's some great questions you can ask. And again, this makes them think about what they can do, what they want to achieve. It makes them more responsible for what they're going to commit to, and it makes them more motivated to achieve those goals. So these are for you to have as you look back on this and as you start your coaching in advance of 2024 and the new goals you'll have for that year. Open-ended questions, as I mentioned, it's an exchange of information. And as Eli said earlier, when your employees are underperforming, you want to understand why they're underperforming. And, when you're able to have a conversation where it's an exchange, it's a collaboration, it's a discussion, they're going to be more willing to talk with you about it. When you share the results and maybe they're not hitting the mark, what can I do to support you to achieve this? What obstacles might be getting in your way? Is there anything that we need to do to upskill or level up your skill level to achieve these goals? So asking those questions are going to be more productive than just letting employees know, why are you not achieving this goal? Because things may be happening in their personal lives. They may not feel comfortable talking to you about things if they're not playing to their strengths or doing their best work. As you have these conversations, also ask them, what do you feel you're really doing well? What do you love about your job? The boss that Eli and I have right now at CEA, she likes to ask, what are the yays about your job? What do you enjoy doing? And what are the yucks? Those things that you feel like you're not quite connecting those dots. Asking those questions encourages that dialogue. And asking them, what areas do you feel you'd like to improve upon moving forward? How can I support you with that? And there is a why here, but the why is how this will benefit them. Why do you want to do this? How will it benefit you? So these are questions you can ask, and they're different than what we're used to in many cases, but they can go a long way towards that coaching culture that employees today demand. I can't say enough about listening because it's such a underutilized skill. We need to grow it. We need to get better at. All of us do. So many monkeys jumping in our head at any given point in time. We have to get better at listening and paying attention to the cues and clues that our employees give us when we're talking with them, and making sure when we're going to have a conversation, what's our intention? What do we want to get out of this conversation? It's also very helpful when we're listening, truly listening. If something's not clear to us, let's play it back to the employee. I want to make sure I understand this. This is what you said. Making sure you're clear. How many times have we thought we heard something and it wasn't what the intention was? So making sure that we're present in the moment, phones are put away, we're not doing multitasking. that we're fully there so we can pay attention to everything, the body language, what's being said, what's not being said, making sure we absolutely understand what our employees trying to tell us. Also, focusing on strengths. You've heard me talk about this. I talked about Gallup. They also have an assessment, and CEA has trained thousands of teams in this area for strengths finders. And it's an assessment tied to performance, but it also helps people to understand what their natural talents are. We kind of know what they are, but we don't know how to articulate them. And research will show that if we as managers ignore our employees, and I'm sure none of you do that, but if we ignore our employees, the chances of them being disengaged are 40%. If we focus on what they do wrong, and sadly, some attention, even bad attention, is better than no attention. They're only 20%, that 20% chance of them being actively disengaged. But take a look at this bottom bullet here. When we focus on what our employees do well, what their strengths are, the chances of them being actively disengaged are only 1%. When we pay attention, when we ask those questions, some of the ones we've talked about today, what do you think you do really, really well? What excites you about coming to work? About what about your job that if you could do it all day, you would? Asking them those types of questions will give you some insight as to what they know they do really, really well. And making sure you have the balanced conversations, because if I put somebody in the wrong job, if it doesn't play to their strengths, they're only going to get to that minimum level of competence. Versus if I put them in a place where they really are already, they're naturally talented towards it, no one's going to do it better than them as time goes on. So focusing on what they do well and asking them that question. And as I mentioned, we do provide workshops. We've trained entire companies around this. It can make a big difference in making sure your employees feel that they are truly performing at their highest levels. And then also meaningful feedback. I want to talk for just a moment about what meaningful feedback is. And this is continuing to be extremely important for employees moving forward. This is what meaningful conversations include. They're part of how they feel. We appreciate, we recognize. It's collaboration. It's not me telling them what to do. We talk about goals and priorities, making sure our priorities are aligned. And these types of conversations don't have to take a long time. It can be 15 to 30 minutes. Remember, we talked about before, be prepared for it and focus on what they do best and be prepared to truly be present and listen. So some additional things to inspire your employees at work. Here's what's trending now. Here's what we see. Here's what we hear. And I'm sure many of you are very familiar with this, the 4-day work week. Many companies are now doing a 4-day work week or every other Friday. They're having their employees take that Friday off. Ties into wellness, well-being, being able to have a real weekend, flexible schedules. I mentioned before, a lot of us had to change things during the pandemic, but flexible schedules, if we can be flexible, it will increase our chances of keeping our best employees. Some have unlimited PTO. Some of you may already have that. Boundaries, time limits on when we send emails too, so we don't send something to someone at midnight and they see it and they're worried. Wellness programs, I've touched on those, and then opportunities to bring your team together and have team building opportunities with them. Also, the inclusive work culture. These are all the things that do provide that inclusive work culture. And I've talked about most of these already, but the key is that diversity, equity, inclusion, delegating, people's strengths, making sure we know what they are, they know that we know what they are, and we're giving them every opportunity to use those. And of course, we've heard this before. We just finished up with Thanksgiving. Grateful for all the things that we have that we're able to do, developing that gratitude at work. So these are some things that you can do as leaders to support and develop that gratitude mindset for others at work as well as for yourself. Goes a long, long way. So as we look at employees as a whole and inspiring employees, we want to connect to their goals, their work to the goals, treat them as people. We are all human beings. We are not robots yet, and we want to know that our leaders care about us. Empower them, give them that opportunity to make those decisions too. Grow them in that way. Take that responsibility for taking care of that customer, a great job, client, all those things. Give them that authority to do that as much as you can. Coach them to success. Keeping that coach mindset and talking to them about it too, so that they understand that's what you are trying to do, is coach them to that success that they hope to attain in their careers. So question for all of you, and I'd love to ask you if you could just put it in the chat box. What's one thing for your own toolkit? If you took one thing away from today that you can add to your own toolkit as a leader, what's one thing that you'll start on right away that you'd like to apply on your own team? I'll give you just a moment to do that if you would. We talked about a lot of things, and I'm a firm believer that just awareness on these things are a big piece of it. Awareness of anything is half of it. So what are those things that you're going to take away that you'll apply today for your own team? And as we take that moment to do that, does anyone have any questions at all? Have we answered everyone's questions regarding this? About how to inspire, how to motivate versus don't fire them, because everyone's worth at least a coaching conversation. Okay, good. Anything at all? All right. Well, then let's turn it back over to Anna, who will give us our codes for this afternoon for this workshop. Anna.
Excellent, excellent. I always love this training. It's very inspiring. All right, my friends, let's get you your continuing education credits today. If I can make the Control-C work for me. There we go. Popping them into the chat right now. Your HRCI code 638553. SHRM code 23-DNEQC. If you are watching this back on a recording and just didn't get that, please reach out, ceainfo@employers.org, the information that you see on our screen, and we'll be more than happy to get that to you. As I mentioned, we do have a survey. Promise you 2 minutes, not a hard survey to complete, but it really does provide us with the feedback that we use here at CEA, and we share with our partners at Central Valley to continue to develop trainings like this and make sure that you're getting the most out of it. It looks like we do have someone with a raised hand, so I don't know if you want to pop a question in the chat or whatnot, but we would love to make sure. Oh, looks like it's in the chat. So we have a.
Yes,
was that
Anna,
feedback for being clear?
This ties into what's one thing you're going to take away and apply.
Okay,
and this individual, thank you for this. It's being clear with setting boundaries for communication, helping people to communicate and set those boundaries to prevent that burnout. Yes, if your folks are stressed, you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can so it doesn't go to burnout, right? Let's work with that well-being and how can we help our folks. And then a couple of comments, but I think you already put it in there, Anna, on the codes, if we could provide it one more time. So Eli, you did that, thank you.
Yep, and then if you need it auditorily, verbally, 638553 is your HRCI code. SHRM is 23-DNEQC. Again, ceainfo@employers.org if you need any help redeeming those codes. Again, we want to thank our partners at Central Valley HR Hotline. Be sure to find the number for your county and utilize those resources, because that's what we're all here for, and to also bring you these awesome trainings. So we hope that you all had a wonderful holiday weekend last week and are coming back in full swing this week like we all are. And we look forward to seeing you on the next training. Fill out your survey, and thank you all. We appreciate your time. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Eli.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.